Hello everybody, welcome to this episode of The Dark Side of Spirituality. I'm just going to take a step back, hopefully you can still hear me. I've ditched the cordless mics because they were crackling on the last video. So today we are talking about spiritual gang stalking. Now, gang stalking is obviously a wide spread term. Most commonly used in America, where it's actual kind of street gangs, criminal organisations and stuff like that. However, please be aware that it does go across all different factions within spirituality. Now, before we get into the gang stalking part and what these people are doing and why they're doing it, let's talk about factions first off, because there are a lot of factions. Now, I've been quite open and honest and clear with people and said, you know, the new wave is a collective. We are banding together. You know, we have our own beliefs, we have our own ways of doing things and thinking about things and stuff like that. You know, sometimes there can be a little bit of butting of heads on ideas, but the ultimate goal is to work together for that same greater long-term good. Now, something that became evident to me was that you do get lots of different factions and groups out there, and I'm not just talking about people who band together because of the belief systems. I'm talking about people who band together because they want the same end goal. Now, for me, spirituality is a personal thing, okay? We all perceive things differently, and it's based on a belief system. And as I always say, you know, just because I have my beliefs and I believe them, it does not mean that I'm right. I could be wrong, because again, we can't prove this stuff. Maybe in time we'll be able to, but it's about believing what you believe. You know, this is why I talk a lot about, you know, preaching duality, because a lot of people who do talk a lot about, you know, oh, I'm light and I'm this, that and the other, they're still manipulated and they still have their own goals. And a lot of it just boils down to, are they going to get work? Now, for me, as many of you will know, part of the gang stalking that I've experienced has been about trying to block my work. So I can understand when you're having your work blocked, or it's not as good, you know, you're not as popular as you're hoping to be. It is frustrating, but at the same time, for me, I don't go out of my way to destroy anybody's reputation or work. I will go on the offensive if I believe a person or a company is being corrupt, and I'll poke the bear, so to speak. Because for me, in my role and my responsibility within spirituality, that's what I'm here to do. You know what I mean? That's what I'm here to do. And I get that people don't like it. I get that it frustrates people. I get that it exposes people. However, as I keep saying repeatedly these days, if you're not doing anything wrong, you've got nothing to be worried about, have you? Now, gang stalking within the spiritual community. So gang stalking normally happens because you have at least one person at the top of the tower, and they normally surround themselves with a kind of core collective. You could say that's what I'm doing with the new wave. The difference is that I'm not out to destroy anybody's lives, believe it or not. Now, what these people do is they target an individual. In the spiritual sense, it normally tends to be somebody who has excellent gifts, somebody who has a flair of charisma, might be entertaining if they're a kind of spiritual medium, or they're good online and stuff like that. And they try and pull them down. Now, the reason for this is that they want to keep the status quo. It's all about control, basically. It's all about control. Now, this happens within the event circuit. I have had reports and stories from within spiritual church community and stuff like that. Because with the spiritual church community, what they tend to do is much like a religious church. They'll have somebody at the top, okay? and then below that they'll have their pastors or whatever they call them there, and then the kind of congregation. The issue that I have with spiritual churches is it's based on a structure. And they often have this belief that you shouldn't charge for your services. Now, for me, that's bullshit, you know what I mean? You know, reading is tiring. Reading takes energy, healing takes energy. And to turn around to say to somebody and say, you should not be charging for your services, they have no right to do that. Now, the spiritual church is based much like the religious-based churches, which, again, not saying it's based on gang stalking as such, but that, you know, you look at things like the paedophile rings within the Catholic Church. It's a form of gang stalking, isn't it? So it does go on all over the place. Now, within the event scene, most of the gang stalking comes from those with high power and authority within the scene. However, don't be fooled, it does go down lower as well. You know, people within the smaller community-based events, they are very keen to keep things the way that they see what spirituality should be, and if they don't like what you're preaching, and if they don't like the fact that you're, you know, putting yourself out there and stuff like that, and again, it all just comes down to jealousy, they will go after you. Now, in both occasions, and I'm assuming this goes on within the witchcraft community as well. I'm not whatsoever involved in the witchcraft community. You know, early on I found that just being part of Facebook groups, that culture within the witchcraft community is so fucking toxic. It's unreal. So yeah, but I'm assuming it goes on there as well based on what I've heard from other people. It's mostly controlled by rumours and lies. You know, I will quite happily admit being in the duality camp, and I've just been speaking to a friend earlier on today. I'm quite happy to take the piss out of somebody. If there's some gossip, I'm quite happy to pass it on. However, I'd never start that gossip, and I don't, because it's not that, you know, starting the gossip. No. But I'm quite happy to, you know, pass it on. Call me a bitch, I don't mind. So yeah, a lot of what they do is they feed rumours and lies, because the spiritual community, what we've got to remember is both the people who work in it and both the people who are drawn to it, they tend to have gone through trauma, or they tend to be going through trauma, and they're looking for answers. They're looking for answers, and they're looking to be healed. Now, with trauma, it triggers you one way or another, okay? You either do your shadow work, you face that trauma, you come out the other side and you say, this is me, okay? This is me, this is who I am. Now, some of my counterparts in the community, they'll come out and they'll want to be zen, and they'll want to be relaxed, and they'll want to kind of preach the word of kind of more love and light. And I, you know, believe it or not, I don't have a problem with that, and I don't. That's who they're supposed to be, okay? For others of us, and you know, we're few and far between. We've been through this trauma, we've come out the other side, and we say no more, you know. As I always say, I spent 40 odd years not saying my piece, being put down, being manipulated, being bullied, and to come out of that and finally find my voice and say I'm going to stand up for what is right, and then to have a community turn around and saying, shh, button that, don't say anything. All the while there are people running around bullying, threatening, forcing people out of the community who are here to do a job and a role to help the greater collective is bullshit, okay? And this is where I get riled up. Now, one of the things that keeps cropping up recently is people talking about me being angry. I have moments of anger. I'm a human being. Okay, I don't see spirituality the same way as my counterparts, because a lot of my counterparts, don't mean to be disrespectful, they've been fucking brainwashed. They've been brainwashed into this very specific niche, one-size-fits-all version of spirituality, which is, we're here to elevate, we're here to return to one, the only way to raise your vibration is through love. Bullshit. That's, number one. Like I say, one of the highest vibrations is authenticity. Okay, I don't float around preaching love all the time, and I don't. So that's not me being authentic. If I forced myself into that mold, then it wouldn't be authentic, right? Number one. Number two, as I believe, star seeds, definitely, potentially light workers, they are here not to elevate themselves, but to remember who they are, what their mission is, and to help the greater collective elevate their souls, okay, and elevate their vibration. And I'm going to talk about this at some point on one of the Down the Rabbit Hole sessions, but like I say, we're seeing a split. We're seeing a split in dimension between low vibration and high vibration. Now, for me, the light workers and the star seeds, the light workers are here to act as a bit of a rainbow bridge. For certain people to cross over, the majority into the high vibration. The star seeds and roles like mine is to grab the trauma ones, go, you can fucking do it. You think about a soldier in the trenches, and they've got a friend there who's been shot and they're in the trenches, or they're having a nervous breakdown, and the light worker is there, the starseed is there in the trenches, and then they're grabbing this person and going, get a fucking grip, you can do this, we need to get through this, and flinging them over to the other side. That's the way I see it in my mind. Might seem a little bit aggressive to people, but for me, this is, the ascension process is spiritual war. It's not floaty love and light. Now, just going back to the main point there about this gang stalking. So yeah, what they do is they start rumours and lies, and they feed it through, because like I say, a lot of people within the spiritual community, they've faced trauma, they've often not fit in anywhere, they were probably bullied a lot by at school and stuff like that. So they're desperate to fit in. And that desperation means that they will do and say things to stay within that clique, to stay within that group, okay? It's wrong. Like I say, I'm happy to admit I enjoy a good gossip, and I enjoy passing on the gossip, but I don't start it, okay? And I don't do it because I want to stay in a clique, because I couldn't give a shit. I could not give a shit. As I've said before, time and time again, right? If everybody just stepped up and walked away from me, I would not suddenly stop doing what I'm doing, and I wouldn't, because I've got a role and purpose, okay? So it's the rumours and lies mill, okay? So generally what happens is the people at the top, they decide that they're going to target somebody, okay? Because the person's on the rise, or they can't be controlled. Both cases, me. So what they'll do is they'll start off with certain tactics. What we've got to remember is these people, because we're talking about spiritual gang stalking here, not just physical gang stalking, it will be a variety of different things. So it'll be rumours and lies. They will use energy manipulation, including black magic. They'll use physical attempts, so reporting your content for no apparent reason. Yeah, they'll also use psychological attacks. Okay, so they'll do things to try and knock your confidence. So in my case, one of the things that happened was this group latched on to a genuine complaint that I had. Okay, it was a genuine complaint, and I was obviously upset about it at the time. I was like, well, I don't quite understand, because it was in regard to my reading style. Now, what this group did was they targeted that, they grabbed that, they used the psychology of that, and they went, right, that's bothered him. And this is when the whole we've had a complaint thing started. Now, just to remind everybody, out of all these complaints that I've received, I can verify and say that I believe 2 of them. Okay, 2 of them. And both of those complaints, there was no connection to this gang stalking group, and there wasn't. Every other complaint I have received has been linked to people within this gang stalking group, either that they're the event organizer who said it, or there's suspicion of bullying other event organisers into it, okay? And it's a psychological thing, okay? Now, at the time, I kept questioning and saying, well, how do I change my reading style then? If it's upsetting so many people, you know, I don't understand, because I'm getting a good following online. Yeah, I go out these places. Apparently, I'm getting complaints. Nobody says anything at the time to me. How do I change that reading style? Because if I start changing the reading style, it then kind of loses the impact. Now, one of the things that kept being said was that I shouldn't be talking about the death of my wife. Now, I get that that's triggering for some people, and I get that people will be upset about that. However, the point why I talk about that, and the point why I talk about other areas of my life that have been quite traumatic, is to try and get through to people that if I can get through that and come out the other side stronger, you can get out of a shit relationship, you can get out of a shit job, and God forbid if you're going through something similar, it can give you that hope that he's done it so I can, okay? And that is why I do it, okay? It's not for sympathy, and it's not to upset people, it's to give people that hope. Now, people will receive that in different ways, and I'm sure there are people out there who they have found it a little bit upsetting. I get that, that's perfectly fine. But you cannot be, you can't be a blanket reader, because otherwise, you know, when you're an activator reader, you're here to trigger people, you're here to wake them the fuck up, and that would then make me fluffy and light like the rest of them, and it won't work. It won't work. So yeah, they will use psychological attacks as well, okay? The psychological ones are probably the biggest ones, if I'm quite honest with you. So yeah, they target people. Now, it's not just readers, it is healers and retailers and stuff like that, okay? Like I say, the reason why, you know, on a kind of more human-based level, right, they gang stalk these people because they bring something different. They're getting over with the crowd, if you want to call it that. They're becoming popular, and that hurts these people's egos, number one, okay? Number two, on a more spiritual based level, it tends to be people who are high vibrational starseeds or light workers who are here to bring the greatest change. And most of these people, okay, well, all of them, you know, they've been triggered into lower vibration. So they've faced some kind of trauma, they've been taken advantage of, etc., etc. And rather than facing that trauma, rather than going, I'm going to go into the darker side, I'm going to come out the other side fighting stronger, they go, no, fuck this, everybody's shit, I'm just going to do what I want, I'm going to take over. And this is when this dark energy comes in and it takes over. Okay, it takes over. Like I say, I don't believe in possession, but I believe in manipulation from dark energy, okay? And it takes them over. And this is why I say, believe me or not, I do forgive these people, because for me, they have been corrupted and manipulated by dark energy, okay? They have free will and choice, don't get me wrong. I don't forgive the actions, but I forgive the people. And people will say they don't believe me, because you're being intense, you're being angry, blah, blah, fucking blah. I'm allowed to be angry. Of course I am. Of course I am. As are you if you get taken advantage of. Yeah, now, in the spiritual sense, like I say, this has been going on a long time. Now, when I entered the event circuit back in late 2022, I was naive to all this. I was a very different person. I did have concerns about fitting in, because A, I was a witch, and B, my branding was very different. I'd not really, you know, I'd only attended a couple of events in 2022, started off 2023 doing a couple of events, and then that's when Heather got ill, passed away, had a bit of time off, understandably, and then I came back. And it was when I came back, that is when they started to target me, okay? Now, at the time, you know, I was being like showered with praise, and, you know, I was being called an asset, you know, and it was all about trying to feed my ego. Now, it's nice to get praise, of course it is. I'd like to think I don't really have an ego. We all have an ego, don't get me wrong, and we want to do well, and it's okay to be proud of yourself. But stuff like that doesn't go to my head, and it doesn't, because I don't really care about that. But they shower you with opportunities and stuff like that, and then once they're done with you, just prior to that, that is when the rumours and lies start. That's when the rumour mill starts. That's when they start getting other people in the community. Now, let's be clear here, right? It's not just the top core of the gang stalking group that are involved in this. It goes level by level by level by level down, okay? Now, so you might go to an event, you might be next to a store holder that you've never met before, right? However, they've heard on the rumour mill this bullshit about you. Now, rather than them kind of saying anything to you or using their judgment and discernment to kind of suss you out themselves, they just stay quiet. They pull away and they hide their heads. And this is how this bullying and this gang stalking continues. Okay. The other thing is, most of the people at the top of the towers in the spiritual community, they're extremely tapped in. Okay. They often know who you are and what your role is and stuff like that before you do. Okay, so again, if they see potential in you, if they see potential for change, they will target you because they know at an astral level, at a soul level, who you are and what you're here to do. So they try and stop you. I mean, it's fucking stupid because, you know, if they can see what's happening, they know that it's going to pan out anyway. So there is astral attacks as well, and that's done in the form of psychic attacks, black magic, death magic, etc. They will also manipulate as well because you have certain subgroups within the greater group. So in my case, for example, the greater collective, aka the community, whether they want to admit it or not, are part of this gang stalking, even if they've not really done anything. Within that, right, there's the love and lighters, right? They tried to manipulate me. And because they've not stood with me, they've kind of gone into the shadows and kind of semi-prop up this gang stalking. They're part of it as well, because again, they've been manipulated, you know. There are very, very, very few of us who have been able to band together and stand our ground. There are very, very few of us who, even less so, who are happy to say our piece. Now, even within the New Wave collective, you know, surprise, surprise, gobshite here, is the one voice in this. A lot of the guys, they'll share it, which I massively appreciate, but they're not really, you know, overly speaking out like I am. Now, I don't blame them for that. They've got other parts of their lives. You know, obviously I'm on my own. You know, my main focus is my work and my career and stuff like that. But there's very, very few people who will actually voice this, okay? But the more we voice it, the more it comes out in the open and the more we can shut it down, okay? Because this behaviour has to stop. This behaviour is ridiculous. This behaviour is not spiritual. And people need to wake up to the fact, okay? So, yeah, please be aware that the spiritual community, there is gang stalking in it. It's probably, you know, based on my experience, it's far worse, you know, more kind of rife and rampant, worse in that case, than other areas of society, okay? We're dealing with people who are very tapped in to either light source, dark source. There's very few people out there who are tapped into the purple stuff, and the ones who are, they still don't want to say anything. So yeah, gang stalking, it is real. It's not nice. They are out to destroy your career. Okay, in my case, me as well. So just be mindful of who you trust out there. I don't want people to get paranoid. Okay, and I don't. Okay, because there are a lot of nice people out there in the community. They might be easily manipulated, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't make them bad people. But just be aware that there's always something else going in the background, okay? Sadly, like I say, I am the destroyer. I'm here to ruin the current system, cause havoc, and it makes me a target, makes me an easy target. But there you go, dark side of spirituality and gang stalking. I'll see you on the next one. Just to remind you guys, if you're on the higher banding, you will now have access to not only the Down the Rabbit Hole sessions first Thursday of the month, but you'll also now get access to the Basics of Tarot live sessions to learn tarot yourself. They'll be on the second Wednesday of every month. please get yourself a deck if you haven't done so already. I would recommend starting with the rider weights, or a variation of, because I will be using them. Excuse me, as always. Right, anyway, there you go. Gang stalking. Ta-ta for now, motherfuckers.